Infield. Just kind of, what have you seen out of those transfers who are kind of coming in and competing, and how do you just kind of see the infield shaking out coming into the year?
Yeah. You know, there's three guys with a lot of experience, and Cooper Weiss, Javon Hernandez, and Derek Fabian, to go along with some returning players that have some experience too. You know, I think of Caden Green, who started every day on a team that, you know, hosted a regional last year, but those guys have shown a lot of baseball awareness, a lot of savvy, a real good workman-like mentality. So they've been great additions. They all have really good feel for the game, and I think you'll see all three of them playing a big part, you know, of our offense and on the infield.
Just
Gabe, kind of the same question. You get, you know, Stanfield back, Bobby Pierce back, you're bringing Mason Manners, but you got a lot of options in that outfield spot. Is it kind of figuring out the bits and pieces together now?
Yeah, it is. You're right. When you look around, I think we got experience in the outfield. Bobby, we kind of mess with him. He's, you know, he probably should be running a company by now or something. But a lot of baseball experience in right field. You know, Chris came in the middle of the year, started playing. Still learning a little bit from center field. Played left last year, being kind of the captain out there. Mason is a senior. He's played 3 years of college baseball, and you got two freshmen, Cole Edwards and Cade Ballou, who are top to bottom, if you will, about as talented as anybody we have, and they're just young and they're still learning and growing. But man, you come watch them in practice a couple of days, and you can tell these kids can really play baseball. And so we've got depth. Another guy, you know, Javon Hernandez has played a little bit of outfield. We've popped Ike Irish out there a little bit. Just you never know where the season may take you, and so we've definitely got options. You know, I joke with the guys when I'm moving them around. It's like when you unleash the dogs of war, you never know where it's going to go, and that coming when the season starts, you don't ever know. And it's always nice to have options, whether it's a pulled hamstring or just whatever, a sore arm. You got to be able to play multiple spots, and so we've kind of cross-trained every one of those guys to play in different spots. But you know, right now as it stands, you know, Bobby and right, Chris in center, and Mason in left, and those other guys kind of filling in all different places.
I guess for Gabe, you know, you bring back Ike, who obviously had an incredible freshman year, but just a guy who I know when he came in was really developed at the plate. But just how have you seen him kind of grow as a hitter this offseason?
One thing that Ike doesn't lack, and that really every great hitter doesn't lack, is confidence. Ike is so sure of himself that he is going to find a way to hit the ball and hit the ball hard. And his compete gene is through the roof. He lives and breathes to be in the competition in the box, and I've seen that only grow. Even as a freshman, he was like that, but now he's got a year of experience knowing he's faced the best of the best. He's had success. He's had big moments. I think if you're talking about the technical aspect a little bit, I think he would tell you, I would tell you as well, that with the amount of talent he has, I think the ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark is going to increase as he gets older. Really learns how to have his legs underneath him a little bit more. But I think that's it. I think the growth and maturity of the leadership with him. We stopped the video yesterday just to watch him leg out a double that shouldn't have been a double. And you know, Coach Thompson makes a comment. You know, when your one or two most talented players are busting it out of the box and legging what should be singles into doubles in inter-squad games in early February. Man, you know, some leadership's taking place, and so there's a little bit of some adjustments with the hitting side that I think is going to help him drive the ball a little bit more. But I love the growth and maturity of the confidence that is just oozing out of him, along with the leadership that he's going to play the game a certain way, and everybody else is going to too.
Brian.
Yeah, I got a couple. First, Karl, going ahead and continuing on that. How's he looking as a catcher? You know, how's he developing those skills defensively?
He looks really good. Ike's a really good athlete. You know, he was a high school quarterback before he, you know, stopped playing football later in his high school career. He's a pretty good runner for a guy that size. He has a great arm. You know, I think coming out of high school, he had one of the strongest arms in the whole catching class, you know, on a radar gun. So he's become more accurate with his throwing, a little bit more consistent there. His hips are pretty good behind the plate. he does talk a lot, as Gabe was saying. He talks and leads, so that's something that Coach Thompson, he's going to want a catcher that's going to be able to really do a great job communicating, which I think all of our guys will. So there's a lot of growth that's happened in the last 6 to 8 months, and he's played a lot of baseball. And right now we're playing 4 games a week, and he's catching about 3 of them, maybe playing outfield the other. So there's been a lot of growth, and there's more with his athleticism that could take place.
And Gabe, who are some of the candidates maybe to DH, and has anybody sort of caught your eye, a newcomer or a young guy that's maybe swinging the bat really, really well so far in preseason?
Yeah, there's a lot of candidates to DH. It's one of my, I guess, biggest challenges. I feel like I've got multiple guys that I'm going to be trying to get at bats for that I feel like could help us. The 2 young outfielders I mentioned, Edwards and Ballou, are definitely candidates in that area. You got transfer Christian Hall that could be a candidate in that area. Caleb Freeman is a switch hitter, could be a candidate in the DH. Who else am I missing?
Gavin Miller.
Gavin Miller, absolutely. Gavin's come back this January, probably swinging as good a bat as anybody. So there's 4 or 5 guys in there, and they're they could see their way onto the field, maybe in some other places as well. But yeah, it's going to be a hotly contested spot because we do have so much experience in other areas, and defense is always at a premium. You can't play bad defense and expect to win, period. And so great defenders and those guys that maybe are not as good as defenders but could really swing the bat, man, you better stay hot because there's nothing else to fall back on if the bat's not playing for a minute or 2, and there's going to be multiple guys who are good enough to get at bats.
Jason?
For both you guys, Javon Hernandez, the versatility, how valuable is that for a team? Not only versatility, but experience versatility. I guess, what have both of you guys seen out of him?
Well, I guess first, kind of going off of Adam's original question too, there's been a few guys like him that have versatility, and that's why the puzzle is there's more options of the way it could shake out. It's not like, hey, this guy can only play here. We've usually had about 2 guys on the roster that could play what we felt like was an SEC caliber shortstop. This year we feel like we maybe have 3 or 4. Javon, is really a prototypical second baseman, but he could bounce over and play third base. He could play center, he could play left, he could probably play right. So when the season gets started, it just helps you get all your bats in the lineup. And you don't ever know who's going to get hot. To Gabe's point, if somebody gets hot, you want to be able to say, hey, we'll move this guy over and we'll get that guy in. And there's a few guys like Javon that can do a few different things to help maybe get one more bat in the lineup, which you're always trying to do if possible.
Yeah, we said him at the plate, especially.
It's something that you have to have. When I first started coaching, before I did anything, and talking to Steve Renfro, who I just talked to today, we still have a great relationship, and he just said, Gabe, when you recruit, you better not forget about toughness. He said that's the number one thing you better look for when I think about Javon at the plate. I think about toughness. A kid that really understands what he's trying to do. He's not going to back down. He's not going to be scared of the situation. He hit 392 or 4 or whatever it was last year at Jacksonville State. He can handle himself. Nothing's going to bother him, and he can handle failure without freaking out, which is a huge indication of mental toughness in this game. Can you have a really bad game? Can you have a couple of really bad games and it not affect you and how you view yourself? And that's and he can do multiple things. He can hit and run. He can bunt for a base hit. He can push in. He can drag. He can lose one. He can use the other way with 2 strikes. There's a lot that he does with a bat in his hands, and he's a fairly short in stature, and if you take that in a positive way, his swing's pretty short. He doesn't get long. He can catch up to fastballs. There's a lot of good things to like about it. The main thing I like about it is his presence and his toughness.
Bill?
Gabe, you talked about Ike's expected increase in power and things
Yeah.
like that. How many guys do you have that you feel good about their ability to drive the ball?
In moments, there won't be many guys in the lineup that I don't think would not have the ability to lose one. Just the other day, Chris Stanfield left the ballpark. He's definitely got the ability to do it. Derek Fabian hit one out the other way. I don't think I'm looking for either one of those guys to hit 20, but they can. I would say if you're looking, you're going to look in the middle of the lineup, and I think you're going to find Ike there. You're going to find Cooper McMurray there. If you really look at his numbers from last year, not only his ability to drive the ball to the ballpark, but to walk and to get on base, he might be the most underappreciated part of that offense last year. And he was hurt for about 3 or 4 weeks, and so I think he only had 150 at bats or so, and still hit, I think, 14 home runs. And if he didn't lead us in on-base percentage, it was pretty close. So Ike and Cooper, I think Bobby Pierce could be a guy that only hit 5 home runs last year, but he hit 10 the year before in 2/3 of a season, and he hits the ball as hard as anybody on our ball club. And I definitely think those three. And then you talk about the DH role. I think Christian Hall could, with everybody I mentioned in that DH role, if you gave them 200 bats, could potentially hit 8, 10, 12 home runs. And so there's definitely guys that can do it. Mason Manners can get to the pull side a little bit and hit the ball out of the ballpark. And it's going to be about those guys finding their rhythm. As I say, getting hot at the right time and going through a period of time where they really get comfortable. And at the same time, I may be the only hitting coach in America that never talks to his players about hitting home runs ever. And we've had plenty of guys hit a lot of them, but it's not something we concentrate on. And taking good passes at the ball on mistakes thrown by pitchers result in home runs. And the guys that can do that consistently are usually going to hit balls out of the ballpark.
Right.
Gabe, Stanfield, do you think he's ready to be that consistent guy at the top of the order that can really impact games, put a lot of pressure on the defenses? He's sort of ready for that in year 2?
I think he can be. I think we have so much experience that I think that, to be honest with you, you could see the top 1 to 2 guys in the order and the 8, 9 in the order almost flip-flop a couple times during the season because of the type of players they are. I think you could see Chris at 1 or 2. I think you could see him at 8 or 9 because you got guys like Javon Hernandez. You got guys like Mason. You got Cooper Weiss who could be in those positions. And there's a lot of experience, and it's just going to be a little bit of how I feel like it all fits together. But I definitely think Chris is ready for that. But there's probably 3 or 4 other guys that are kind of vying for that role, and you could, like I said, you could almost see him split at the bottom and the top, which kind of gets me excited, to be honest with you. I mean, most of the time your big innings are happening, your 3, 4, 5 guys are doing it, but it's usually the back end of the lineup that gets something going, and all of a sudden it flips to the front end, and now you're going down those guys, and having some guys in that 8, 9 that can really get on base and set things up for the front end is going to be interesting, in how we feel like as this season progresses, who's best in those roles. One thing that Chris is definitely ready for is center field. Just watching him run balls down. Casey was such a blessing there for 5 years, and Chris is going to have some learning experience just being there and being the captain, but his ability to go get it is second to none.
Jason?
I don't think we mentioned Cooper yet. This Cooper McMurray, having him back, the year he built on last year. What have you seen out of him, since then?
There was so much good stuff that happened last year with, Joseph Gonzalez coming back and Christian Herberholz and Tanner Bauman. And when we were in the offices, even, last summer, Cooper's a guy that maybe could have gone on to play professional baseball. And he's just one of those guys, you hear the term profile, and he just profiles so well. He plays really good defense. He really knows the game, to Gabe's, and then he walks, he hits home runs and stuff like that. So not having him for a few weeks this fall, you could just feel sometimes the space that he takes up in a lineup. Just him coming up a little bit later, things like that, protecting other guys. But it's then going out to the defensive side of the ball and just, making great plays, game-saving picks, and, he's an accurate thrower, he moves well, and so he's a really, really good baseball player, and Gabe said it, I agree 100%. I think he's one of the most underrated baseball players in college baseball for all the things that he does.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to put too much pressure on Cooper. He is as important to me, to our lineup, as Ike, as Bobby, anybody. I think he brings a leadership role that is much needed. It's not loud and in your face, but everybody respects that guy for how he handles himself, how he approaches other players, and his numbers that he has put up. When you're looking at lineups, if you throw, if you throw Ike out there and you don't put people around him, people are going to pitch around him. Bobby a little bit in the same mode, and Cooper's a guy, because of his eye, because of his ability to take walks, because of his ability to handle left-handed and right-handed pitches. His splits are very comparable, that you can use that guy to kind of make sure that they're respecting the guys in front of him. And he handles being in that position so well that, when Cooper's sitting behind either Ike or Bobby or maybe both of them, I mean, you're going to be worried about not letting Ike and Bobby get on base, because you don't want Cooper McMurray sitting up there with a couple guys on base, because he's that type of player. And so he in my mind, is as important as anybody in our lineup for a lot of different reasons.
Gabe, turn around a minute. What pitchers are giving you guys the most trouble to swing and miss so far through preseason?
Probably the guy that is, to me, looked the best, that I'm really excited about, and we've been kind of waiting on it, and you saw some glimpses last year, is Chase Olsen. His stuff has not changed, but his command, his ability to land his off-speed pitches, throw them in any count, has given length and life to the fastball, which is what happens, when a hitter's got to worry about the slider and the curveball and maybe even a changeup every once in a while. All of a sudden, even 95, 96 turns into its value. And when all you got to worry about is the fastball, I don't care how hard you throw, hitters are going to find a way to turn it around. And so his first outing, and he'll throw again today, but his first outing, he was mixing 3 pitches, I think up to 97. I think it started at 94, and it kind of built, which is awesome to see. It started at 97 and waned to 94. It built through his 3 innings, and it was really, really sharp. And he was that way in the fall. You could see it kind of coming. And Will Cannon is probably, I won't say our best competitor, because you can have different competitors, but man, Will Cannon takes the mound with an attitude that I love at the back end of games. Herbold's seeing Joseph out there. Joseph, his arm, the life in his arm is as good, if not better, than any point in time that I've seen it. And he still needs some innings under his belt to get the fine command and all that kind of stuff back. But couple of new guys that split. Why am I freaking out? Cam Tilley. You're talking about getting hitters talking. They don't see splits like that very often. They kind of heard some of our older guys, Hurston Waldrop in Florida, with his split last year, comparing him, his breaking ball as well. And then I think to our lefties, I think a guy that I don't know how much it's been talking about, but I know our lefties don't like Keppinger a whole lot. Freshman, big time breaking ball, sinker back underneath your hands, and of course Tanner Bauman, I think, is the rock of that bullpen. He's a catch-all guy. He could close it. He could close the game. He can get righties out. Change-up's really good. Sink in at lefties with that arm angle, the slider coming back. Our guys don't like him very much. You could also see him. Hey, we need 3 innings in a tie ball game. He might be a guy who threw out for 3 innings, and then the next weekend, Cannon has to. I don't know if we've announced him, but he's probably going to be at the back end of the ball game somewhere. Throws on Friday night, and Bauman may be the guy that closes, the next night if we don't have him or something like that. So that's probably a lot, but those are just some of the guys that popped into my brain.
Very good. All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank y'all.